Hey guys, welcome back. Mr. M here, and today we're going to talk about drawing in perspective. So we're going to cover 1 point, 2 point, and 3 point perspective all in the same video. Perspective is a way for us to create the illusion of space using lines. The idea is to imitate the way that we see the real world in order to create an illusion of space. It might seem difficult at first, but once we get the hang of a couple rules, then it becomes really simple and a really powerful tool that we can use. All right, let's not waste any time. Let's get right into it. So whenever you're starting a perspective drawing, the first thing you need is a horizon line. Now the horizon line is as far as we can see in the distance. It's quite literally as far as our eye can see. Now you may have mountains and things like that that come over the horizon line, that's fine. We're just talking about on a flat surface. If you're standing out in the desert, it's totally flat. That's as far as your eye can see. That's where the sky and the ground meet. So let's take care of 1 point perspective first. So in 1 point perspective, what we'll need is a single vanishing point. Now I want you to make note of that. 1 point, 1 point, 1 point perspective, 1 vanishing point, okay? Now then what we're gonna do is below the vanishing point here, anywhere we'd like under here, we're gonna draw a square. How perspective works is this. Parallel lines that are going backward into space are going to converge at a single point. So from these 3 corners, our lines are going to go back to that vanishing point, like so. Do you see how we've already created a sense of depth as though this cube is going back into space forever? That's what we want. Now, all we have to do once we're done with that is decide where to end our cube. So now it's just a matter of matching our parallel lines. So we have 2 in front of our y-axis lines. So we'll repeat that a 3rd time in the back. And then we have 2 parallel x-axis lines right here. Those are going to be repeated. And notice we've already created our z-axis lines here, here, and here. And those are the ones that are going back to the single vanishing point. And that's 1 point perspective. Now, the cool thing is, once we know the rule, we can create any kind of shape we want, and as long as we are following that rule, everything's gonna work out. Okay, so create your front-facing shape from each corner, go back, and then copy the parallel lines. Now, once we've got those, we can actually erase the ones going back, so we no longer need them. The lines that continue past the actual object are called orthogonal lines. Those are the lines that are coming out from the vanishing point, giving us our guides, and they're invisible. They're not actually there until we draw the cube itself. Now to deal with rounded objects like this that don't have corners, what you want to do is just go to the furthest point that you can see, line it up, the edge of that circle or oval, and put down the line there. Now to create the backside, all you have to do is match curve for curve. Okay, that might sound kind of silly, but what I mean is this curves this way, and so we are going to create a curve that resembles that, like so. So you're matching this curve again over here. Now you don't have to match the top one because we can't see it back there, obviously. So that's 1 point perspective. Now for 2 point perspective, as you can imagine, we're going to have 2 vanishing points rather than just 1. So how we'll do this is instead of drawing the front face of our cube, we're actually just going to draw the front line going straight up and down. And you can do this above or below, it doesn't matter. It's the same rules either way. Okay, but we're creating the front line, the edge of our cube, so to speak. Now from here, we're going to create lines going backward either direction. So we have our x-axis lines on the left. They are going to go back to that vanishing point. Those are our x-axis lines. And then we are going to have our z-axis lines on the right, going back to the right vanishing point. Okay, these are our 2 sides. Now it's a little bit tricky, but what we're gonna do is we're gonna match this first line and we're gonna repeat it. So I want this cube to stop right there on that side, and then I want it to stop right here on this side. Now it's really important that our lines remain straight up and down. This line is straight up and down, this one needs to be straight up and down, and this one needs to be straight up and down. Those are our y-axis lines. Okay, so we have our x-axis over here on the left, our z-axis over here on the right, and then our y-axis lines straight up and down. Now notice in 1 point perspective, we only had 1 set of lines that was going backward. In 2 point perspective, we have 2 sets of lines going backward. We have our x-axis and our z-axis. And in 3 point perspective, you'll see we are gonna have all 3 sets of lines going back to a single vanishing point. So our x-axis lines, our z-axis lines, and then our y-axis lines. Now once we make it here, what we're gonna do is from this corner and this corner, we're going to do a little crisscross. We need to match our parallel lines because remember, parallel lines retreat back into space at a single point. That means this z-axis line and this z-axis line need to have a partner back there. Likewise, this x-axis line and this x-axis line need to have a partner back there, matching, right? So from this point, we're gonna take our lines and go back to that one, and we're gonna go from this point back on the other side to that one. And that's gonna create this crisscross in the back that's gonna give us our back corner of our cube. Now, to create things like a cylinder in 2-point perspective is a little bit trickier, but still doable. So let's do that really quick. So we're gonna follow the same process. Once you create this square here, you can draw a circle inside of it, like so. And that's gonna give you the right angle. And once you're done there, then all you need to do, just like in 1-point perspective, is draw the lines going back into space. There you go. So what we've created is a cylinder going back toward our right vanishing point, like that. Once you kind of know how to do this, you can totally kind of fake it and skip a few steps if you feel comfortable. The only reason we draw that initial side, just like we did in the cube, is just to get the right angle of this end of our cylinder here. It was a minor tweak, but it was worth it to show you guys the perspective. And that's 2-point perspective. Now, 3-point perspective is really exactly how the name suggests. It has 3 vanishing points. So how we're gonna start this off to draw a cube is, instead of drawing the front-facing side or the front-facing edge, we're just gonna draw the front-facing corner. Okay, so we're gonna start with a little dot, and then we're gonna draw our orthogonal lines going from that dot to our vanishing points. Now, this might not make a lot of sense right now, but hang in there and it should all come together. So once we've got this set up, then we're gonna decide on each of these lines where we're gonna end our cube. So I'm gonna say, I'm gonna end it there, and there, and there. So one thing to notice, because our third vanishing point is above the horizon line, that means that we're looking at this object from below. Okay, anything above the horizon line is gonna be above us. Anything below the horizon line is gonna be below us. So if something's above the horizon line, we're looking up. If something's below the horizon line, we're looking down, okay? All right, so once we've got this set up, then what we're gonna do is we're gonna go from each of these points to the opposite vanishing point. So from this one, we're gonna go to our right, and then we're gonna go up. And from this one, we're gonna go left and up. And this one, we're gonna go right and left. All right, hopefully this is starting to make sense to you guys. Now, what I want you to notice is how, by doing those steps, we've already created our 3 y-axis lines, our 3 z-axis lines, and our 3 x-axis lines. And we can erase these extra lines now because we do not need them. And there is our cube in 3-point perspective. Notice we're looking up at it because we can see the bottom, which means we're underneath it. And that's 3-point perspective. Once we master the technical side of this, we'll be able to create anything we want in 3 dimensions. All we really need to remember is that parallel lines converge at a single point, and cubes are ultimately just made up of 3 sets of 3 parallel lines. All right, guys, that's it for us. Thank you for watching. Hope you learned something, and I will see you in the next video. Don't forget to also like and subscribe.